On June 19, 2020, a woman left her apartment in Cape Coral, Florida, and was never seen again. Her name was Lauren Dumolo. She was 29 years old, a devoted mother to a little girl, and someone who was working hard to rebuild her life. What happened to her that day remains a haunting mystery, one filled with troubling signs, unsettling discoveries, and far too many unanswered questions. Lauren's life hadn't been easy. She had battled substance abuse in the past, but had been doing everything she could to turn her life around. She had recently moved to Cape Coral, trying to get back on her feet, and was living in a modest ground-floor apartment on Coronado Parkway. She worked at a local sandwich shop called Taco Pan and spent her free time applying for jobs and fighting for custody of her daughter, Michaela, who was living in California with her paternal grandmother. Despite all the hardships, Lauren was hopeful. She was known for her vibrant energy, a wide, bright smile, and an unwavering determination to create a better future, not just for herself, but for her little girl. But on that summer morning in June, something went terribly wrong. Lauren was last seen at her apartment complex around 8 a.m. Surveillance footage later showed her using the shared laundry room. She seemed calm. No one reported anything out of the ordinary. But sometime after that, she disappeared. That same day, Lauren's belongings began surfacing in places that didn't make sense. First, her purse was found on a park bench at Four Freedoms Park, a spot just a short walk from her home and a place she visited often to meditate. Oddly, her ID, keys, and cell phone were missing. Later, her sandals were found near the shoreline, as if she had taken them off to walk barefoot on the sand and never returned. But things only got stranger. Lauren's phone was never recovered, yet someone continued using her social media accounts. Posts and friend requests were sent from her profile in the days after she was reported missing. This led investigators to believe that someone may have been trying to access or manipulate her accounts, perhaps to mislead the investigation, or worse, to pretend she was still alive. Lauren's father, Paul Dumolo, received the call no parent ever wants to get. He immediately flew from California to Florida and began his own desperate search for his daughter. He walked the streets of Cape Coral with missing posters, asked questions, knocked on doors, and pleaded for answers. But the more he searched, the fewer answers he found. Her family became increasingly frustrated with what they saw as a sluggish response from law enforcement. Paul was vocal about his concerns, saying it felt like Lauren's case wasn't being taken seriously enough in the crucial early days. He believed vital time had been lost, time that might have made the difference between finding Lauren alive or not. Volunteers joined the search. Dogs were brought in. Dive teams combed nearby waterways. Police used drones to search the surrounding areas. But no sign of Lauren was ever found. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. Friends described Lauren as deeply spiritual. She loved nature, believed in positive energy, and often spent time by the water. Her disappearance seemed to contradict everything about her routine and character. She wasn't the type to just walk away, especially not without telling anyone. Not when she had a daughter she was working so hard to get back. As the days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the theories began to spiral. Had Lauren suffered a mental breakdown? Had she walked into the water and drowned? Had she relapsed into drug use and met someone dangerous? Or had someone deliberately harmed her? Investigators struggled with the lack of physical evidence. There was no sign of forced entry in her apartment, no witnesses who saw anything suspicious, and no surveillance footage showing her leaving the area. One theory was that Lauren had gone to the park, taken off her sandals, and perhaps entered the water. But cadaver dogs brought to the scene didn't indicate any scent in or around the lake. Divers found nothing, and Lauren was known to be afraid of the water. She couldn't swim. Her loved ones didn't buy the idea that she had simply wandered off. To them, something darker had happened. Something intentional. Then came a strange twist. An anonymous letter was sent to a local news station covering Lauren's case. The letter claimed to know what had happened to Lauren and accused local law enforcement of being involved in a cover-up. Police said the letter appeared to be a hoax, possibly written by someone seeking attention. But even if it wasn't credible, It added to the growing cloud of confusion surrounding the case. As public interest in the case grew, a group of experienced investigators, known as the Peace River Canine Search and Rescue Team, joined the effort. They conducted their own independent search operations, using cadaver dogs and specialized equipment. But again, nothing turned up. No clothing, no remains, no phone, nothing. Lauren's case soon became a symbol of a system that often fails women in crisis. She was a recovering addict, a woman with a complicated past, and someone who didn't have a lot of money or political clout. Some advocates argued that cases like hers don't receive the same media attention or law enforcement urgency as others, and that needed to change. Cape Coral Police did insist they were doing everything they could. They assigned multiple detectives to the case, followed up on dozens of tips, and kept the case open. But to this day, Lauren remains missing. Her father refused to give up. "Someone knows what happened," he said in interview after interview. "And one day, the truth will come out." Cases like Lauren Dumolo are never easy. People don't just vanish into thin air. Someone, somewhere, always knows something. But as the investigation dragged on, detectives found themselves with more questions than answers, and a growing list of possible suspects and bizarre theories. When a person goes missing, police always begin with the people closest to them: family, partners, close friends. Naturally, one of the first people questioned was Lauren's boyfriend, Gabriel Pena. Investigators took a close look at his story, scrutinizing phone records and GPS data. These confirmed that on the day Lauren vanished, June 19th, Gabriel was working on Marco Island, over an hour away from Cape Coral. Gabriel claimed he had passed a polygraph test, although law enforcement never officially confirmed that. Even though there was no concrete evidence linking him to Lauren's disappearance, her family raised multiple red flags. Before she vanished, Gabriel and Lauren were no longer living together full-time, though he still occasionally stayed over. Suspicion deepened when Gabriel filed the missing persons report using a different address than the one they had shared. Then came troubling information from his past. While not accused of harming Lauren directly, Gabriel had a documented history of domestic violence. He had once been arrested for striking his ex-wife in a parking lot, a fact backed up by surveillance footage. However, like many such cases, the charges were dropped when the victim declined to testify. During interviews, Gabriel appeared anxious, stating, "I'm worried and scared, not scared because I did anything, but because I think something really happened to her." He swore he had nothing to do with Lauren's disappearance and admitted he hadn't removed any photos of her from their old apartment. "I'm still holding on," he said, hoping she was alive, for her sake, and especially for her daughter, Michaela. Gabriel offered his own theories. At one point, he speculated that Lauren had gone out with someone, maybe taken drugs, and something went terribly wrong. Later, he shared a darker thought. Perhaps someone offering her a new apartment had taken advantage of her. Whatever the case, she never came back. This led to more haunting questions. Was Lauren trying to escape something or someone? Did she want to leave Gabriel? Or was he genuinely concerned, telling the truth all along? As investigators dug deeper into Lauren's digital life, they uncovered a potential lead. Her last known message, sent the night before she went missing, simply read, "You guys coming?" The message was sent to two men, Jose Rivera and Joshua O'Capel. Both men had extensive criminal records, and Joshua was even listed as a registered sex offender. According to a witness, one of them had been seen with Lauren on the night of June 18th. This raised alarms. The more police investigated, the murkier things became. Could Lauren have unknowingly been in dangerous company that night? Detectives began focusing on Joshua O'Capel. He told them he saw Lauren the next morning, June 19th, around 10 a.m., walking past his apartment complex, which was located near her place. According to him, they only exchanged brief hellos. Still, police couldn't shake the suspicion that he might have been the last person to see her. Further inquiry revealed that both Jose and Joshua had ties to a man named Carl Crow, another figure with a troubling criminal past. Carl had a long record, including drug trafficking. More importantly, he had once been romantically involved with Lauren. After breaking up with Gabriel, Lauren had started dating Carl. She had even become pregnant during the relationship, though she wasn't sure who the father was. Given Gabriel's alleged history of abuse, Lauren had felt safer with Carl, at least initially. But she later made a heartbreaking decision, struggling financially, especially in her fight to regain custody of Michaela. She chose not to have another child. It wouldn't be fair to Michaela, she said. At the time Lauren disappeared, Carl was already in jail. He had been arrested after a woman named Kay Muzo was found dead from an overdose. Carl and others were later charged with tampering with evidence and moving her body to cover up the crime. Then came a chilling tip. Carl may have orchestrated Lauren's disappearance from behind bars. Could he really have ordered someone to harm her while incarcerated? Investigators couldn't ignore the possibility. As if things weren't already terrifying enough, the Dumolo family received even more disturbing news. While still in jail awaiting trial for 2 separate murders, a man named Wade Wilson made shocking claims that linked him to Lauren's case. Wilson had come to Cape Coral and committed 2 gruesome killings. In one, he allegedly strangled a woman named Christine Melton in her sleep, wrapped her body in a blanket, and left it in her home. His father told police that Wilson called him after the murder to confess. Wilson was also accused of killing Diane Ruiz, a mother of 2. According to police reports, he lured her into his car under the pretense of needing directions, then strangled her and ran her over multiple times. Afterward, Wilson reportedly said, "I had to." In 2024, Wade Wilson was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to death. From behind bars, he began making claims about a human trafficking ring operating in Florida, claims that somehow connected back to Lauren. According to Wilson, a Cape Coral spa was being used as a front for illegal activities. He alleged that while in Key West, he'd been invited to join a criminal organization based in Lee County. Wilson insisted that Lauren had ties to this ring and suggested that influential individuals were involved. There was no concrete evidence to support these claims. Still, the details were specific enough that investigators couldn't dismiss them entirely. Could Lauren have stumbled into something far more dangerous than anyone realized? Another strange chapter unfolded involving Victor, Lauren's mother's boyfriend. He had been questioned by police several times and had always denied any involvement in Lauren's disappearance. But then things took a weird turn. Lauren's half-brother Jeffrey recalled that Victor once received a message from an unknown number. Rather than replying with words, Victor sent back a picture of Lauren's family. He later showed the message to Jeffrey and claimed he was in danger. But Jeffrey quickly noticed something off. The image had not been sent to Victor. It had been sent by him. Had he made an honest mistake? Or was he trying to deceive the family? While Victor's intentions remained murky, this wasn't the only heartache Lauren's family would face. A few months after her disappearance, her mother Laura was hospitalized. Tragically, while undergoing treatment, she contracted COVID-19. She died on October 15, 2020. But even her final days were wrapped in mystery. On October 3rd, during a fundraiser being held in Lauren's honor, someone reportedly visited Laura in the hospital claiming to be her daughter, Lindsay. The real Lindsay, however, had been at the event the entire time. So, who was the imposter? And why pretend to be her daughter? The strange visit, followed by Laura's rapid health decline, left her family with more questions than answers. Years passed without answers. Then, on October 5, 2023, skeletal remains were discovered in an overgrown lot in North Fort Myers near Pine Island Road. The remains belonged to a white woman between 30 and 50 years old who had died within the last 5 years. For Cape Coral Police Chief Anthony Sizemore, this was the biggest lead in the case in years. The location, the physical description, and the timeline all matched Lauren. Investigators immediately began working to identify the remains, but DNA testing would take time. In the meantime, police reached out to area doctors for access to Lauren's dental records to help speed up identification. Lauren's father Paul braced for the worst. "I just want to be able to bury my daughter," he said. "She deserves that dignity." But then another cruel twist. The remains weren't Lauren's. They belonged to Brianna Tennant, another missing woman. The pain of that moment was indescribable. Paul said, "You finally accept that there is no more hope she's gone." And then, just like that, we're back at the beginning. The case of Lauren Dumolo remains unsolved. Despite the many theories, suspects, and chilling possibilities, the truth remains elusive. Cape Coral police have vowed to keep investigating, and Crime Stoppers continues to offer an $8,000 reward for any information that leads to Lauren's discovery. Lauren's father hasn't lost faith. "I believe more than one person knows what happened," he says. "I just hope one day they find the courage to speak up." Until then, her family lives with the cruelest kind of agony, not knowing. Thank you for watching. Every victim deserves their story told. If you found this story shocking and heartbreaking, subscribe to Crime Uncovered and help keep their memory alive. What do you think about Lauren's murder? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, keep questioning everything.